One more panel left. It will be only 20 minutes, unfortunately, because it's very, very interesting one. We will have with us Bruno Bonnell. He's the Secretary General for Investment, leading France 2030, a 54 billion investment plan to support innovative technologies and ecological transition. And Benoit Bazin, he's the CEO of Saint-Gobain, the worldwide leader of light and sustainable construction. It's present in 76 countries. He started his career at the French Ministry for Economy and Finance back in 1995 and joined Saint-Gobain in 1999. So please, Bruno, Benoit. Welcome, both of you.
Hello.
Hello. I think something for sure caught the attention of the public was this 54 billion investment plan. So I think I must start with this question to Bruno on how is this France 20 plan designed to develop the industrial competitiveness, and what is the general criteria for the funds distribution?
Well, France 2030 was designed to really be a springboard for innovation in France in many different sectors. The idea being that, obviously, as we know here, everything is changing now, right? So, therefore, we needed to de-risk the investment in many different fields that may concern, quantum technologies or space exploration or deep sea exploration as well. But more importantly, 50% of this $54 billion euros are dedicated to decarbonization. The whole idea is to use this money to really reduce our carbon footprint in the future. It's an extremely selective plan. 30 billion have been already committed of the 54, so we have more to go. And 3,700 projects have been supported so far, which represent about 7,000 people, because most of the projects are consortiums. They're not made by one company, but a group of them. So we're on the way. We're on the way. It's working hard. It's very selective, as I said. It's about one out of three candidates that is selected to be really given grants or loans or capital investment money just to succeed in this revolution we're living in.
Thank you. And it shows a great commitment of the government in that direction, of course. And we have not only been discussing of how government support via the investment before with Sylvain from ADEME, we were discussing also about regulations, about best practices and so on. So now that we have a large and international companies like Saint-Gobain here, I would like to ask you, you can share with us, what do you think a company like you, like Saint-Gobain, need from the government in terms of budget and regulations? And is it enough what Europe is doing at the moment?
Hello, everyone. Happy to be back at Change Now. I think what is obvious is that we need massive investment. This is why I think a partnership between public and private is needed. I think it's very important to enter into a long-term investment mindset. And France 2030 is exactly that. You may have a job for 2040, Bruno, and even 2050. So this long-term investment is absolutely critical. Now, when you think about that, I think it's important first to not forget all the existing industries that are maybe not in the green hydrogen, but that make 95% of the jobs and the manufacturing of today. So that's important. The second, which is also important, is you need to also look at the energy supply. We massively underinvest on green energy. I think the prior panel mentioned it. It's not only the green energy supply, it's the grid also to connect all the existing sites in any given country. The third point I would like to mention is that we need visibility and stability of the framework. You know, when you invest in a glass furnace, it will last 50 years. So you need visibility, stability. For me, the best signal we could get is a carbon price, a worldwide carbon price. And in order for us to make progress, we have set up worldwide our own internal carbon price since 2016. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to keep that in mind. And the last piece I would like to mention is for Europe is to make sure that we think about sovereignty. Because we need, indeed, time to change the industries. We need time to invest. And in the meantime, you cannot have differences of competitiveness, differences of rules. So environmental, social criteria are very important also to keep in mind that you help your industry transition and you protect it during the transition time. If you think of a corporate like Saint-Gobain, we had no meaningful support from the government, which is fine. We have our own resources and we are moving fast. We have dropped by 44% our CO2 carbon intensity on scope 1 and 2 over the last 6 years. Because we invest a lot on R&D, we invest a lot on CapEx. But clearly, for me, the main message is a signal on carbon price, visibility, stability of the framework, and third, invest massively on green energy. Invest massively on green energy. And last but not least, keep it simple. I think the prior panel mentioned the IRA. The benefit of the IRA is that it's very simple, robust, easy to go. So simplicity, visibility, stability, and investment on green energy is for sure what we need, because that's how we'll make decisions on where to locate our manufacturing facilities around the world.
It's good that this set of measures, because it's true that we need a lot because the challenge is massive. And anyhow, I would like to switch to another block of questions because actually we didn't tackle today, we didn't have time to discuss about the talent, and the talent is still critical for this sustainable transition. We know all these new technologies that we were mentioning in the panel before, how they are coming, new technologies, innovations, and so on. So for this green transition, we will require an upskilled workforce. And I would like to hear from you both, starting maybe this time with Benoit. What is the government and the companies doing?
Well, we need to train a lot of our own workforce. For instance, right now, we have invested in Norway, because we have hydropower electricity, to make the first worldwide zero-carbon manufacturing of plasterboard. But of course, you have to take your maintenance people. They were used to do welding of gas piping to now electrical wiring. So you need to train your own workforce, and last year we trained 100,000 workers. The other thing is to educate them also on the change in the climate. And we took the commitment, for instance, within Saint-Gobain to have 80% of all our 160,000 employees in 75 countries trained at the climate risk. And last year, in just 2 years, we trained 33,000 of them. So we do a lot of training on all kinds of topics, the skills and the talents, and also the climate issue, because that's our purpose, making the world a better home, and all our strategy is about sustainability in construction. What we need to do also is to train the ecosystem, train the craftsmen. We have just in France 2,000 outlets of distribution for building materials. A big topic which is very important for us is circular economy, how to collect the waste from the demolition of the buildings. And here we can train the craftsmen. So we train 15,000 of them on new energy regulations for buildings last year, and we also trained them on how to bring back materials in 300 collection points. So there is a lot to do internally with our workforce to help them transition to new jobs and new skills. And there is also a lot to do on the ecosystem of your value chain. We also launched last year what we call sustainable construction talks. We had it in Paris, we had it in New York during the Climate Week, in Dubai during the COP, in order to make sure that all the value chain on construction, this is our space, building materials, is moving. The architects, the mayor for the permits, the homeowners, the craftsmen, all are moving in the right direction at the right speed. So there is a lot we can do, not only for our workforce, but also, even more importantly, to all the stakeholders around us.
Thank you.
Well, it's a good sharing of responsibilities because by the way, you chose one of the best in class because they do retrain a lot of their workers and people. The job on the government side is much more on what are the young generation willing to do. That's why within the 54 billion euro budget, 2 billion are dedicated to educate, to teaching, to support school with new themes like nuclear, nitrogen, the fermentation, bioproduction. So concretely, it means that we give grants to those schools to really establish new tutorials so that we get more and more people in those specialized fields. It's a real issue because everybody wants to change the world, but there is a major question of attractivity in those fields. That's a reality. We have brand new schools with brand new education, and the people who are supposed to apply to those schools, they just don't go. And that's a major drop. And we need to stimulate attractivity within the industry because we can talk about, you know, the future is changing. If we don't change the mindset of the young generation when we talk about industry, we'll fail. So we aim at having 1 million new curriculum by 2030. We're on track. It's a lot of money invested so far. About half of the 2 billion have been put on the table. So it's major. But again, I'm stressing the attractivity of it, which is really weak in some sectors.
Thank you. It's clear that both of you speak with a lot of passion. You have very clear and solid plans. So I think this next question will come naturally, also considering both your career paths, your current roles, and it's about responsible leadership and how responsible leadership can have a role on acting beyond what the market dictates you to do. How can you act and do beyond what are the pressures of this marketing? Okay. To both.
I can start. My turn. You know, for me, it's a very simple way of looking at it. We've been trained in the past to go for always more. All of a sudden, with the realization that we had limited resources on the planet, there is a big trend to go, no. It's not always more, it's even less. And I think that responsible management is none of them. It's much better. And this idea of going from always more to even less to much better is really the path of responsible management. We need to educate people that I don't think that just going with stopping everything, freezing frame on our society is the solution. I don't think that exploiting and over-exploiting the resources we have is a solution. I think that considering that we can do much better with science and technologies and knowledge and know-how is really the key to the future. And it goes with my former comment about attractivity. If we don't give the promise to the new generation that what we want to do is fundamentally just do things better than we used to, we'll miss the point. And that's how I would drive, and that's how actually I'm driving my services, that I would drive if I was in charge of any industry. I would drive the management today with this word, this magic word, just do much better.
What I would say is you need to be convinced that leading on sustainability will make your company, if I take the private sector, a much better company. And because you will have better solutions for your customers. If I take Saint-Gobain, we have 75% of our turnover, which has a positive impact on the people and the planet on sustainability, 75%. We have a plan which is called Grow and Impact. The higher, the more positive the impact, the higher the growth we'll have. And the more we'll grow around the world to scale up our solutions, the bigger the impact we'll bring to the planet. So you need to be convinced first that regardless of the regulations, you will make a better company if you lead. The second is that you need to commit resources and make clear choices. For instance, since 2016, within Saint-Gobain, we have decided to apply to us our own carbon price for CapEx, industrial investment, and for research and development projects. It used to be 25 and 50. It's now 100 and 200. And we have done it whether it's in Brazil, in Vietnam, in France, in Germany, or in the US. Because of that, we have been able to drop by 44% our carbon intensity and being clearly the leader on that front. So you need to make clear choices, regardless of whether there is a carbon market price in India, you apply it. You need also to commit resources. On more than €500 million of R&D spent, we have decided to put 4 priorities. All of them, 100%, are linked to sustainability. It's decarbonize our processes, go with circular economy, invent light construction systems, and invent new materials driven by sustainability. We have also committed ourselves last year 222 million euros of capex to decarbonize our plants. We had the first plant zero carbon in Norway. The second will be in Canada. And also, and I will stop there, finally have some very concrete, practical examples. 3 years ago, I gave to all the teams of Saint-Gobain a race to the moon. We were born in glass in 1665. And I said, we want to be the first to make a zero carbon glass manufacturing. And we did it. And since then, we have an offer on the market in Europe with minus 40% carbon content in glass. We have done it in plasterboard, and since then, we have a plant running in Norway. So you need also to show some steps. I was in Canada last week. We have a plant running with 88% recycled materials for glass wool insulation in Canada. So you need also to show to your teams very concrete examples. But I'm back to my first point. You need to be convinced that you will make the best possible company if you lead by sustainability. And for me, what is fascinating in 30 years of professional life, if you take any other topic in a corporate, you take cash, the finance people want more cash. But the engineers, they want to spend the cash in the plant. If you take sustainability, I can tell you, we have 160,000 employees of Saint-Gobain aligned on sustainability. So this is the single topic where you can align all the talents, all the resources, all the skills, and all the passion of the teams. So it will make a better company. So you need to lead on that.
It's of course about the team, the commitment, that they are aligned and fully follow this path. I think we have time for one more question before a final one, because you were sharing some concrete examples, and I thought they are very inspiring, the examples. So maybe, Bruno, you can also share one concrete example of the decarbonization action.
Yeah, I can stress one of them. We have this project called ZBAC. In French, it means that Zone Industrielle Bas Carbone, so it's low carbon industrial zone, where we select a territory, like a dedicated territory, and we put all the efforts to really simplify the way we can lower the carbon imprint in this territory. We have 4 of them right now. And so it's a discussion between the people responsible of the territory, the people responsible of the plants on the territory, like the industrials, of course, the supply of energy through the, the wiring and the grid on this territory. So altogether, the goal is to reduce by at least 20% the carbon imprint in this territory. So that's a kind of good example of how the government is not just supplying money, but try to gather the people and make them work together to effectively have an impact on the dedicated industrial zone. One of them is in Dunkirk. Endgame, we will generate about 17,000 new jobs there, which means that it's a remodeling of the territory. We used to be a very harsh industrial area with a lot of carbon emissions. It's going to be much cleaner now, with electricity being the base of most of the plants. And as a result, it will probably redistribute the way of life within the territory.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
For me, one concrete example is what we can do within buildings. You know that buildings, the built environment, make 40% of the CO2 emissions. I was extremely happy that a bit more than 2 weeks ago, there was the World Summit led by the French government between buildings and climate. And it's only 3 COPs where we had a dedicated day on the built environment. We know that we can achieve a lot within buildings in terms of saving energy, notably saving green energy to direct it to sectors like mobility industry where we lack green energy. So we can drop 5-6 times the energy consumption on buildings. So I'm pushing, and we play a leading role in that regard, to align all the value chain, because we need to collaborate across all the value chain on the construction sector in order to get there. We should be proud of what France has put together in terms of circular economy. We need to take back all the demolition waste within buildings, in terms also of energy performance, raising the bar from the bottom. So it's a lot we can do within buildings. It's a lot that we can achieve, and we have achieved it. We can drop by 70-80%, the energy spent in the buildings. And buildings are at the crossroads of the energy crisis, the social impact for the purchasing power, and even the climate, of course, because they make 40% of the emissions. So it's a big request that we don't decelerate, but we accelerate further in terms of all the regulations, the efforts all of you can make within buildings for renovation, when we think about Europe, for new build, when we think to build faster and better in the emerging countries where we'll have 2 billion new population to host in the coming decade.
Yeah, that's true. We have very little time left, but still, I would like to give you the floor to decide if we finish with a positive message or not. It's on you. And maybe both of you can ask, are we quick enough to reach the net zero goals?
We're on track, and I don't like the idea that we're late or we should be desperate. That's quite the opposite. I think that we generate by the concrete energy that I see within our country, that so far we're on track on the reduction of carbon footprint. So I'm optimistic by nature, but I'm optimistic too because I see the figures. And at this point in time, France is on track, and we should repeat it as much as we can.
I'm also optimistic, when I see that you can take the private sector. Saint-Gobain is a very good example. You can be profitable, you can be growing, you can attract the best talents while leading on sustainability. So clearly this is possible. I think in Europe, we should not underestimate the need for speed of execution. I know we have a complex, which is good, democratic political process, but speed of execution, we all know that we need to change now, not in 5 years or 15 years. So yes, we will, and yes, we can, but clearly speed of execution is of the essence around the world. The private sector is doing a lot of that. The public sector can give a clear framework and visibility and support. I think we are on the right track, but let's continue to attract the best talents and the energy from all of you so that we can make further progress. But yes, we will, and we can go for sustainability in our planet and notably in buildings.
Great. We end up with an optimistic note.